Hello and welcome to my world and another tier list making video. This video is being recorded on February 18th, 2023. And the subject this go round is 90s network sitcoms. Although the tier list that I found over on Tier Maker has at least one show that I know for a fact was not on network TV. It was on cable, but we will count it. We will count it. So let's just get over to it. Here are the shows, and we will go, of course, in order. The Drew Carey Show. Before you even do that, it's going C tier, but the it goes SABCDF and did not watch. Drew Carey Show for me. Obviously airing on ABC. I believe it was either Tuesday or Wednesday nights about 8:39 o'clock. I want to say Wednesdays at 9, but I'm not 100% sure based on my memory. It existed. Things I remember distinctively about it. Character Mimi and Drew's back and forth was hilarious. Craig Ferguson, as I think his character's name was Mr. Wick, was a nice, part of the show. I don't remember Ryan Stiles' character's name at all, or the other guy who was like Drew's best buddy, or the girl character, who was kind of like the female of their quartet. But I do remember the episode with Triple H of the WWE showing up. Something involving a beer commercial, but all in all, it's like considering when it aired, because it was airing on Wednesday. I think definitely would have aired on Wednesdays, and part of the reason why I can't rate it higher is that was also night Star Trek Voyager was airing after it got moved from Mondays. It was airing in that 9 o'clock slot, and so I was definitely watching that more instead of the Drew Carey Show. The Wayne's Bros. The Wayne. I did not watch. My brother would. I know my brother watched it. He probably could give it a place it somewhere on this tier, but I did not watch it. News Radio. For me, that show was fucking awful. I have nothing positive to say about News Radio. I found it to be bland and tasteless. Uh, it's like if I can't think of anything positive, it's definitely going F tier. Like D tier is like I can think of at least one thing that stands out in a positive way. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, C tier for me. Um, because I believe it was airing Fridays and I believe it was on ABC. Salem Cat definitely having the snarky lines and comeback. They had some nice guest stars. I want to say Kevin Nash appeared during his time in WCW, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Um, but there was always the magical hook of the show really would have caught my attention if I had nothing else to do on a Friday night, which I believe is when it was airing. I would turn it on because I'm going off my memory here. Full House B tier. Um, I could justify putting an A tier, but I'm putting a B tier because uh it's more of like trying to take off the nostalgia glasses on it. Obviously airing on ABC during its original run on Friday. I know I seen it on Friday nights because it was airing on Fridays in '89, but for a good portion of the '90s, it was airing on Tuesdays. I think it was at 8:30 ish. Fine show and everything. It's like definitely like the character of Kimmy Gibbler, as like the and DJ's dynamic as a duo and best friends really was cool. Dave Coulier, have grown more appreciative of his comedic talents and impersonations and voice work. Uh, More in retrospect, it also helped that he was the voice of Peter Venkman in the latter seasons of the real Ghostbusters. Knowing how filthy of a comedian Bob Saget actually was, and then that clean image of Danny Tanner, and of course John Stamos um, as Uncle Jesse. I There's just so much about that show. The only thing that really keeps me from putting it up in the A tier is that it really got that big syndication push because it was airing on PSG 57, which became the UPN affiliate. For a long time, a lot of episodes were airing at like 5:30 back to back, so it got a heavy syndicated push, and then it went. What did it go to? Did it go to TNT or TBS later on? So it was like it always seemed like at some point somewhere it's like change the channel. Full House was always on, and so that kind of like is like okay, the oversaturation of it is what keeps it from putting it in the A tier. And like the last episode that Michelle loses her memory, it's like that lessened the bad taste in my mouth. Murphy Brown C tier. And I would have remembered seeing it episodes of Murphy Brown, specifically on WTFX Channel 29, which is our local Fox affiliate here in the Philadelphia area. And I would have seen episodes. I think they were airing at 5:30 in the early 90s, like 90, 91, 92 ish. So those are my memories of it. And I was sitting and watch it. I had, you get past a certain time a day. Murphy, like, homework was done, had nothing else to do. It was like, okay, if you didn't have cable, you had limited options because on ABC, CBS, and NBC local stations, that was the news. So the only thing on would have been Murphy Brown, and if you didn't, because the Fox station had the better reception, WPSG 57 and WPHF 17. Their broadcast signals weren't all that good in compared to WTFX, and at least based on the TVs that I had and the antennae and everything. So it was like, so that kind of is where it is there, where we're falling in here. It's like I had nothing else to watch. Murphy Brown was on. Coach B tier. Fine show. I definitely remember watching it Mondays before MacGyver. I was actually allowed to watch MacGyver. No, wait, was it MacGyver first and then Coach, or vice versa? Now I'm confused if I'm misremembering that because I know they were airing the same nights. But Coach was a fine show. It's like the football, he's a football coach. He has his home life, his personal life, and whatever shenanigans happen in the coach's office and things of the nature. Correct, T. Nelson, it's like if it wasn't for Coach, it's like I wouldn't know who he is outright. It's like, and a lot of people don't know who he is, but he's a fine actor. Like, normally, one think of him as being a comedic actor, with how he looks and how his presence is, but it works in its own way. Family Matters. I can totally justify. It's kind of like a B minus C plus here. I'm going B tier with it, mostly because of the first couple of seasons before it really became Urkel focused. You look at the first like 2, 3 years of Family Matters, is like Urkel's kind of kept in the Kimmy Gibbler role. Like, okay, he may or may not appear. He's not essential to the plot in any given episode. But the more and more where it became like, okay, he's the breakout character. We have to work him into every episode and put him in the A plots at the expense of other characters. Because Family Matters was a spin-off of what was it? Perfect Strangers, I believe it was a spin-off of, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's like, look at where it started and the intentions, and where it ended. It's like, yeah, I can't justify going it any higher than that. And I can easily drop it C tier because the more Urkel focus it gets, the worse the show got. The Nanny D tier. It had its moments. It, and like it's how I know Fran Drescher, and it's like I can appreciate her comedic timing and everything, but the show itself, it wasn't boring. It wasn't bland. It wasn't news radio, but it's it wasn't a show I would go out of my way to watch if there was nothing else on. Uh, so, and I don't think it really got a strong syndication push either. Too. No, no, it didn't. Because when the nanny ended, syndicated TV was basically dead at that point. So it would have had to go into like Nick at Night, which really wasn't doing like stuff from like the 80s and 90s by the time it ended. It was like a little, so it kind of was a show that would fade away because of that. It's like total opposite of Full House, which went into full syndication while it was still airing. Blossom, C tier for me. I have very distinct memories of having Blossom on the TV when there was literally nothing else on and just sitting and watching it. It's like I thought it was a fine show, but nothing more to say than that. I just thought it was fine. It was okay. Like I could sit and watch it, and it certainly was closer to shows as a kid. It's like elementary school going into no, it's definitely more elementary school. I would have been seeing or watching Blossom. Thinking off the top of my head, it's like on the time frame and stuff. So it was kind of like that weird dichotomy there. Like I just remember seeing it and so forth on the TV. Martin, S tier. Um, it's a show that ended sooner than it probably should have because of Martin Lawrence's issues, and that probably was well documented. But there's so many elements about the show. Martin playing three different characters because he played his own character. He played the neighbor across the hall, Shanae, which often would have issues with Gina, and the little half pint. I wasn't sure it was supposed to be like a kid or a short or diminutive person, but it was a fine show. Tommy, you ain't got no job. It's like brother man from the fourth floor, and was the other guy in it named Cole? Because I can't remember that, and I can't remember the character who was Gina's best friend. Who always I loved the bickering that Gina's best friend would have with Martin. It was just like a fine. It was just like a perfect balance there. It's like, and I really feel like Martin, the show itself, you could say it ended before it got stale, but I think they could have gotten they could it could have gone on at least a couple more years. Uh, Dharma and Greg, much like news radio, bland, tasteless, boring. I did not fucking care for it at all. The few episodes, I can't think of anything positive to say about it. Race Under Fire, C tier. I would have seen it more. I remember seeing episodes randomly airing on like WPHL 17, and I think it was also the WB ish as well via syndication. Um, at least this is what I'm remembering. Again, thought it was fine show. Like if nothing else was on, if it was on, land on it. It's like okay, it was there. It's kind of again falls into this nice category here. It's like fine show. Sybil never watched. Jamie Foxx show never watched. Caroline in the City never watched. Suddenly Susan, F tier is like bland taste. It's like if it came on, if it's like it was definitely a channel changer for me. Just move on to something else. In the house, I have. This is a tough one though. This is a tough one for me to even judge. 'Cause I know I've seen a couple episodes of it, but I'm going to go D tier because I remember seeing episodes of it, but it's there's not enough to say where I will sit and watch it or have it on. It's like if there was nothing else on, flipping the channels, it's like I know it's probably unfair, but I'm going D tier with it. It's like not enough to say where I can sit, where I say where I would have like watched it regardless. Like it's like it's kind of that weird category there. It's like I don't remember enough. Emptiness did not watch. Doogie Howser MD F tier. The only good thing about that show was the theme song. Neil Patrick Harris is overrated. But my biggest takeaways and issues with it is just that the whole premise just of the character being okay. This is a kid like a high schooler with all this medical knowledge, and I know there are folks who able to go through college and everything while they're still like before they're even 18, graduating college at like 16 and everything. I totally get it. I just don't the how it was presented with him having a being a medical doctor is like it just it just didn't gel with me at all. Dinosaurs S tier. Jim Henson production, one of the last productions I think Jim Henson himself actually worked on or started working on. So you had the awesome uh, puppetry, the animatronics, the costumes, characters and plot lines that just really carried on, such as some a lot of great moments, such as Baby Sinclair having too much sugar flying around the kitchen, or forget the name of the son character turning vegetarian and is like being used as a play on "Are you doing drugs?" It's like, what is this lettuce? You brought lettuce in this house? And it's like, okay, as a stand-in for weed. It's like also one of the darkest TV finales of all time. Screw the Sopranos ending. Screw what the hell was what happened at Breaking Bad. You just like the end of Dinosaurs. It's Earl basically wiping out the entire planet, causing the ice age and the mass extinction of the dinosaurs. So yeah, you want to talk about a tragic and sad endings? Like yeah, Dinosaurs has everything beat. The Wonder Years A tier. Uh, it was Wonder Years with me could be very hit or miss, but it's more hit than miss in my case. It really depends on the premise of the episode. And one episode that distinctly stands out to me, and it's only because I'm a Star Trek fan, was one I think it was like Kevin had and when he had some sort of falling out or like a misunderstanding, and they did this homage to of all episodes Spock's brain. Like Kevin is Paul as Kirk, Paul is Spock, and I think was the brother's character named Wayne. I think he was like a red shirt or something. I could be misremembering that, but that just stands out to me. It's like one of the years. It was a great show. It was like airing on ABC, so it's like he had that. It was like it definitely was just like a tier, and it had a lot more weight to it too than the likes of like Full House and definitely Family Matters, where it will tackle series episodes because it was the entire like growing up in the '60s and so forth. Evening Shade did not watch Seinfeld. That goes S tier. Not even a question. It's a show that my brother watched. Again, it's like for me, Seinfeld was like watching. It's like okay, I'm in middle school, going into high school, and so forth. With my brother watching Seinfeld, it was him elementary into middle school. So there's that, and it also helps that Seinfeld was basically in the perfect time slot. You had um what was it? I forget what was airing at 6 o'clock on our local Fox station. By 6:30 and 7 o'clock were The Simpsons, back to back episodes. Seinfeld was 7:30, and then whatever show was airing on Fox at 8 o'clock. Um, it's like you could, we could in my house apartment and everything. You can easily leave it on Fox 29 from like 6:30 and go straight on through. Although in my case, a lot of shows that I will watch will be on other channels and so forth. But there was again Seinfeld being it was and I mostly watched it in its syndicated package on Fox 29 at that 7:30. I rarely, if ever, went out of my way to watch the new episodes when they were airing on NBC, with the exception of the series finale, because that was a big topic of discussion when I was in high school. Fresh Prince of Bel Air, A tier. Will Smith could get very annoying, and as could the character. I'm not just talking about the actor. I'm talking about the character there. Carlton the same way, so it kind of relied a lot on James Avery as Uncle Phil to carry the show, and he did a great job. You could easily subtract the character of Will Smith from it, and it will still work. It will probably be more of a generic sitcom. But there was enough. I think there is enough elements there that they could have played things off um outright. But again, it's like it's a legendary show. It has incredible moments. Got a little bit more over the top with some of the fourth wall breaking stuff to end some episodes or open some episodes, such as if we're so rich, how come we can't afford a ceiling thing, or Carlton's run, Alfonso Ribeiro's run through the entire studio, for example. But again, it's like A tier, like no question. Married with Children, that's an A tier show. And I'll say this right now, I'm someone who actually think the best character on the show was actually Marcy, because she had the relationship, the friendship with Peggy, the antagonistic back and forth with Al. So it's kind of like that nice little niche where and she Marcy would have the interactions with all the Bundys and being there literally from the beginning towards the end of the episodes, and knowing how Ed O'Neill's own ego kind of like got out of control was like it's really tough for me to looking back at it when I watch an episode of Married with Children or see clips on YouTube to really be on the character of Al, be on the side of Al Bundy, the character. Just knowing is like there was always like, oh, it's like Ed O'Neill would pull the star card, and but again, it's a great show. A lot of funny moments. The some of my favorite moments for sure. Again, it was we could say Al the it was like Bubba Smith is like the reenactment of a touchdown in like a in a school hallway. Uh Definitely stings out. There was something involving like a bear of all things. Uh I I just remember a bear that's like just hanging out on some steps, and it's like Al, Bud, and I think it's supposed to be Peggy's father goes to retrieve the bear, and somehow a fight breaks out or something of that nature. Steve's return uh, was also pretty hilarious in its own way, particularly when you look at the actors who played Steve and the actor who played Jefferson. It was like, oh, I can't remember the guy who played Jefferson's name. It's like he's just dubbed the quote unquote sitcom killer or the show killer because of how many shows he ended up ending after various points in a short time thereafter. But again, Married with Children again, top tier there. What's this? Wings. Did not watch. What the hell is this? Living Single. Wow. I'm going B tier with it because I remember it was airing on Fox. I want to say it was airing after Martin or around it because it was like Living Single. What was another show? Rock, I think it was called. And I'm kind of blanking on it, but it was kind of like a. And but any which way, Living Single, a lot of it was like over my head, and I enjoyed it. I think it was like that. I think it was great cast chemistry there. I just really wish as because when it was airing, I was like, okay, kid, elementary school ish. I really wish I understood a lot more of the subject matter of it because it definitely wasn't an adult geared show. But it's like there, it just I can't say I can't put it in the C tier because again, I think it was really good, and I can't put it in the A or S tiers because I don't remember enough about it. But I just remember it being a very good show. I would again, it would be a show I have seen on because I distinctly remember it airing on Fox. So it was like again, it was like airing on around the same time as Martin. I think I'm trying to remember other shows. I think that was kind of airing in that same time frame too. Third Rock from the Sun, D tier. Uh, I know Pop Pokes are gonna probably want my head on a stick for that one. Third Rock was a show that kind of like the worst. It was reverse of the Wonder Years for me. It was more missed than hit. John Lithgow, I just got annoyed with, and as with French Stewart, it's like too much of them. It was like too much, just over the top for my taste. Like, I get it. There's aliens and they're on Earth and everything. I appreciate the episode where William Shatner showed up as the big giant head, and the moment is like I saw the most. There was a reference to the Twilight Zone because John Lithgow and William Shatner both did Terror from 3,000 Feet. Shatner did it in the original run of the Twilight Zone, while Lithgow did it in the Twilight Zone movie. It was like I saw something on the wing of the plane. Well, the same thing happened to me. So it's like the show has a few moments here and there, but overall, I just think I didn't like it. It wasn't boring. It wasn't bland. It wasn't. It's just okay. It's D tier. It's for me. Beavis and Butthead. This was not a network television show. Network television sitcom. It was on MTV. And it's D tier for me. I didn't care for it at all. It has moments that, like the greatest thing about Beavis and Butthead for me is that it led to Daria. Now Daria was a great show. Beavis and Butthead, was like the fact that they got a revival. Like they did like a movie with it recently, within the past year or so. Was a shock, but is what it is there. What's that? Home Improvement, D tier. I it There were some good things about Home Improvement, but I think there was like a little bit too much. It was too formulaic for its own good. Um, like almost every single episode could be seen as the same. It is uh almost rinse and repeat. Such as, oh, there's an issue. Uh, Tim doesn't quite understand the issue, or it's like he goes confer with Wilson, who gives him some sage advice, and Tim misinterprets and butchers, but it all works out in the end. So it's kind of like that rinse and repeat formula. And in many regards, I think, okay, maybe it's being a satire in its own way as relates to Full House, but at least there was enough variety of characters in Full House. It kind of like didn't lead it to be boring or repetitive in that way because it wasn't always the same combination of characters. It's like when you have like a big episodic resolution. I think obviously the best part of the show was obviously the tool time segments, and I know I'm saying I was gonna put it in the C tier, but I think this overall is like it's D tier for me. I can't really, I in good conscience, I can't put it in the C tier. Mad about you. Mad about changing the fucking channel. See, I could sit and watch Home Improvement. Mad about you. I just couldn't stand it all. It's like boring, bland. That's the worst you can be for a sitcom. In Living Color, In Living Color is a sketch comedy show. It was not. It's not a sitcom. Okay, but it's on this list here. I'm going S tier with it because it was great as wasn't really allowed to stay up on Saturday nights to watch Saturday Night Live. So In Living Color was in many regards my introduction to sketch comedy. With different segments and stuff like that. Homie the Clown, Fire Marshal Bill, what was it? The two rather flamboyant critics. Like give it two snaps. Um, so and the Fly Girls, of course. But yeah, in Living Color is like okay, it's S here, but it's not a sitcom. And actually, now I think about it, it's like Beavis and Butthead was more about the music videos than anything else, too. Boy Meets World. Ay, ay. F tier. The character who played Topanga was certainly, as the show was watching, as the show was airing, as I was growing older, as a kid into a teenager, definitely could appreciate Topanga in my youth. Actually, Danielle Fisher is still gorgeous. Thank you very much. There's like good genetics there. But overall, it's like Boy Meets World was just terrible in so many ways. Like it had its moments, like Vader showing up was like being like the father for like the big bully s kid. Um, I think in many regards it probably last because you had these characters growing up and you could have the big endpoint of them getting high school graduation and sending to college and characters going to separate ways and so forth. But it's like no, I was like no. Sister, that was an A tier show. Definitely kind of like in some regards, almost like the rough same household. Like okay, uh, twin sisters. Like okay, different parents, and then, their parents ended up being in the same household and everything. It's like it was a good show. It's like give it eight here because I remember just enjoying it a lot. It's like I can't think of anything negative, and it's like I definitely liked it more than Full House, Coach, Living Single, and Family Matters. I definitely put it in that eight here for just being just a very good show. It's like I don't think there's it was so good. In fact, it's like really hard for me to really think of any particular moments that's really stand out to it. But this again, it just stands out as this being like, yeah, this was awesome. Uh, and what the hell is this? I can't really tell. Oh, Ellen. I should have been able to tell. I don't have my glasses on at the moment, and Ellen for me, it existed. Like thought it was a fine show. It was like airing on ABC, and then Ellen DeGeneres, has her coming out moment, and that if the show didn't just get canceled out of that, it was like it ended so soon after the news of Ellen, you know, reve- revealing that she is a member of the LGBTQ community. Um, if there was more done with that in the show afterwards, it's like I really feel it could have pushed it up higher because there was no very limited, like, legit, if at all, representation of the LGBTQ community at all in sitcoms and everything. That at least that wasn't being treated as like a trope or a stereotype. I think they could have done something could have been done with that, and I think ABC just got cold feet or something, panicked or however. It's like I don't know the full. I don't remember all the details regarding the cancellation of it, but real shame, missed opportunity. Friends. Okay, most of us Seinfeld and Friends on must see TV Thursdays on NBC. I would say I went out my way to watch Seinfeld a lot, as I mentioned earlier. Friends, on the other hand, fuck that show. It's like, no, absolutely not. Um, it's kind of funny because you had Friends, Mad About You, Seinfeld, and a lot of these shows. Okay, it's like that same thing. These are people living in New York and everything. They're individual apartments and everything. It's like the thing is with Seinfeld is like it was a show about nothing, and but it made you care about these little stories and stuff like that. Friends in and of itself was the antithesis of it because of all of its reoccurring plot lines and everything and storylines and arcs and so forth and will they won't they who will hook up and so forth. It's like fuck this show. Spin City, I did not watch. It's like it. I was aware of it, did not watch it. Hanging with Mr. Cooper, A tier. Again, it's like airing at the same time as Sister Sister. I think it was on Friday. I think they were airing both back to back on Friday nights on ABC. Now, like memory and everything. Hanging with Mr. Cooper, I certainly like more than Sister Sister. There's no question in that regard. I just found it to be. It's like Mark. What was his name? Mark Curry. Um, I just found him to just be a real cool overall, like, screen presence and everything. It's like he just came across as being cool in his own way. And I remember an episode, and I could be misremembering it. I think the show was set in and around Oakland, and where uh, the titular character uh, had a tryout or something involving the Golden State Warriors. That is just sticking out in my head there. So I was like, there it is. Saved by the Bell. This is kind of like stretching it because Saved by the Bell was like on Saturday mornings, and I'm gonna go C tier there with it. Mostly because when I was seeing it, it was like after cartoons and ended on NB and it was airing on NBC. So it was like, okay, there were times I would sit and watch it, and times I was just like go and do something else after after cartoons were over. So it was like kind of like a take it or leave it, but it was a good show and everything. A lot of the tropes about it still holds up. It's um couldn't stand Screech at all, but again, who could? But again, it was a fine show. I think they tried. Kind of think they could have. I didn't see the reboot that they did, or the reimagining, or the sequel series that they attempted. I don't even remember what happened with that. I know it made air, but I kind of wonder if the original show had a little bit more like weight to it. It could have done. It could have been better than when it was. If it was airing in prime time, as maybe something airing at 8 o'clock, would have like connected with me more. But again, it's kind of hard to judge it or rank it on this tier list here. So it's like it's getting that C list there. Frasier, F tier. F for Frasier. I just didn't get it because I was another character of Frasier. It's a spin-off of Cheers, but there's something about Frasier that the tone, the manner, the delivery, the writing, it just didn't it just didn't jive with me at all. Like, uh, ooh, this is gonna the Cosby Show, not F tier. No, no, no. It goes B tier. Um, definitely a show that probably lasted too long, but at the same time, um, when I was watching it, when I would watch the Cosby Show, it was after the show ended, it was airing in syndication, and it was airing mornings on my WTFX Channel 29 Fox here in the Philadelphia area. So it was on like mid morning. So it's like home from school during the summertime and everything. It's like, okay, no cartoons or anything. Don't want to watch anything on PBS. So it's like you can flick over to Fox, and at the right time, you can catch the Cosby Show. Also, what's happening too? What's happening or what's happening now was also kind of like a weird package there, but man, it had some great moments. There was some great comedic moments in it. Some of the lip syncs musical numbers were really well done. Um, things they they tried in many regards, and to some degree, kind of think about it. What prevents me from pushing it up into the A tier? Is it my bias towards Mr. Cosby himself that keeps me from putting it into the A tier, or is it because the whole actually I know what it's something. It was something about the show is like pushing one of the characters on a path that they didn't necessarily want it to go down. And it was like for their own good and so forth, but it's really wish I could describe it better there, but I'll just leave it there as a B tier for now. The Simpsons. A tier. And keep in mind, the glory days of The Simpsons is like the first few years of the 90s. So it's like 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. Then you have the back half of that is when the people say the show starts to decline in its quality and so forth. Um, but The Simpsons as a show has peaks and valleys, and you're just judging it based on the 90s. It's definitely an A tier show. It's definitely towards the top of the echelon. I wouldn't put it in the same realm as like Martin, Dinosaur, Seinfeld, or Married with Children, because The Simpsons was always a show in flux because you had like a Bart heavy year, and then it gradually became more Homer focused. So that's where that goes. Roseanne and A tier. Like you have to like factor in that last season, which was basically written off as a dream and everything, or book after character Roseanne is writing. But it was a great show. Definitely more blue collar, and I could relate to it because I lived in a blue collar household. It's like um, and my mom loved the show. Watching Roseanne when Roseanne was brought back to ABC, my mom and I watched the first couple episodes together. Um, so it was like it was really cool. It was like there's a lot of great bonding moments over that show. So it was like A tier. There's like no doubts there. Step by step. The word take the charm of Full House and remove it. That's step by step in a nutshell, really. It's it's definitely closer to the Brady Bunch to a large degree than Full House, but still a large family living in a house that's clearly too small for that many people, and you had to like a lot of the internal conflicts and things like that. So it's definitely more Brady Bunch in that regard. Um, but but again, the obvious comparison to Full House, and it doesn't help that Full House and Step by Step were both aired on NBC and both aired at about the same time because when Full House was winding down, Step by Step premiered. So it's like that really weird connection. I guess ABC wanted the large family uh, sitcoms to still be a staple of their network. And what the hell was this? Hang Time. Was this Hang Time? I'm aware of that. Wasn't that like on the freaking Disney Channel? I didn't watch it, but that's all. That's all I can really say about this. Like, so again, a couple of things like not sitcoms or not even being on network. But I can't help but think of shows that are. The question is, what shows were are probably missing from this, and that's because sitcoms could like get a few episodes and be canceled like that. Like, and one thing you can definitely say about all these shows is that they all lasted. They were not immediately canceled. They were given a chance to thrive. There was a show. What was it? I think it was Reba McEntire. And what was it? The Steve. Wait, I think also the Steve Harvey show. Was that in the 2000s? Because I think Steve Harvey had his own sitcom for a time. I'm trying to think of other stuff that Moesha as well, I believe. So now I'm just trying to think of shows. But again, was Moesha more of a sitcom or yeah, it's card? Yeah, my memory is real fuzzy on it. It is on a lot of this, but I just remember some things being more resonating with me than others. But hell, this is my own tier list. So, on that note, leave your if you made it to the end of this video, like Fel Kimchi does every so often. Hey, I managed to work it in. Um, um, to see where I place your shows or my justification being my own my own reasoning or lack thereof. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below where you would have placed some shows. I would say hit like or subscribe. But come on, does anybody actually do that? Really? Does anybody hit the subscribe buttons? I mean, I know I don't. But on that note, we'll wrap up this video here. And since I'm recording this again on the 18th of February, that means I have more than enough time to come up with something for the following week or weeks down the line. Because again, planning in advance. So till next time, tighten your friendship bracelets, stay safe, have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.